Have you finished your novel or short story? Have you held off from sending it to competitions, agents or publishers, or self-publishing it because you know it isn't quite there yet? Have you sent it out but got nowhere or received feedback you don't understand? This is where the Writers Company Assessors can help. Assessing a manuscript is a very personal experience, one where we, as assessors, step into your shoes and try to understand what you want to gain from the experience. We all have different writing strengths, and our assessments will focus on areas that you need help with. We like to teach as well as critique. And above all, we are always kind. So what do the Writers Company Assessors do? Our assessors will read your work in detail and provide feedback on a range of narrative issues, including character, structure, dialogue, setting, point of view and language. The list is extensive, but here are a few things that we will help you with, the questions we will ask when reading your work. The type of questions we'll ask about character when we're reading your work are firstly, are they well-rounded? Is it clear to the reader what they look like? For example, their height, their weight, their clothing, their hair colour, any monster qualities, if applicable. Do we know what motivates your characters to act? What drives them? What do they want? Do we know what they fear and love? Have you avoided stereotypes and other overused descriptions, such as golden hair or twinkling blue eyes? Are your characters consistent? For example, does John start wearing glasses halfway through the book for no discernible reason? The next category is structure. Think about whether you need your first paragraph or chapter, or is it backstory? Does it draw the reader in? Could it be cut? Is there a good balance of conflict and action, emotional or otherwise, to draw the reader in and keep their attention? Does your story slow down too much in the middle? Do you need to add something to lift it? An incident or a chance meeting with another character perhaps? Have you used the best narrative style to tell your story, for example, chronological or non-linear? The next category is dialogue. The type of questions we'll ask are, is your dialogue authentic in terms of the diction and dialect of your character? Is it age appropriate? Does it say what it needs to without over-explaining? Have you remembered to remove anything the character already knows? For example, a child talking to their parent would not say, "I am your son." Find a different way to show this information. Do you have a good balance of dialogue and description? The next category is setting. The sort of questions we might ask are, is the setting recognisable to someone who is unfamiliar with it? This is especially important if you're writing historical fiction, fantasy fiction or speculative fiction, where the reader is unfamiliar with a location or the world. Have you used metaphor and other imagery to describe it? Have you focused in on the detail, combining it with action? For example, what is under your character's feet? What are they walking on? Does your sense of place add to the conflict and atmosphere of the story? Might a different setting work harder? The next category is point of view. There are separate presentations on points of view, as these can be difficult to negotiate. The sort of questions we might ask are, have you chosen the best way to tell your story? For example, might switching I to he, she or they give you more distance from your character? Is the right or most interesting character telling the story? Is your point of view consistent throughout the story? The next category is language, and the first thing we'd look for are clichés in your work. Have you used all the senses? Sight, sound, smell, taste and touch. Have you checked that you've used appropriate imagery without overusing or mixing your metaphors? For example, her coat was as green as a kale smoothies she liked, but it smelt like the inside of a shoe and rotting seaweed that pops like blisters. Here you can see I've alluded to sea images, the inside of a shoe and kale smoothies. Have you overwritten any passages that might be simplified? Have you checked your spelling and grammar? Assessors aren't proofreaders, but we will always highlight the obvious mistakes that we find. So, what should you look for in an assessor? A good assessor helps you to improve your writing without changing your voice, encourages you to edit your own work, listens to your concerns, reads widely but also communicates well, and finally wants you to succeed. If you have enjoyed this Writers Company video, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel.